Hi, I'm Andy Bigger and today I'm with the Photographer Academy. I'm a professional photographer and I'm lucky enough to travel the world photographing dogs, which is something I'm absolutely passionate about. In this first of the series of films, what I want to do is go through the kit that I use on a daily basis to help me get the very, very best photographs of the dogs that I'm photographing. You're going to be spending most of the time on the floor photographing the dogs, and if the floor is wet and cold, it's not going to be comfortable for you, your concentration's going to go and you're not going to get the best photographs, which is what this is all about. So the first thing that you really should do is get some decent outdoor kit, and what I mean by that is you need a decent outdoor waterproof jacket and some decent waterproof trousers. Moving on to my kit bag, and the cameras that I use for dog photography at the moment is the Canon 1DX. I'm lucky enough to have two of these, and I know I'm lucky that they're an amazing camera. But it's not just about using the most expensive cameras. When I first started, I was using a Canon 20D that I bought off eBay for around £250, I think it was, with a standard kit lens. Now the frame rate on that was around 4 frames per second at most. And what that did is it taught me about timing, it taught me about feeling the shot. And that's really, really important. So as I upgraded my equipment, I really appreciated the difference. The other thing that is important with dog photography is focus, autofocus. And yes, again, the advantage of the 1DX is very, very fast autofocus, but again, it's trying to work with your subject to track the dog, give your camera plenty of time to lock on with the focus, whatever camera you're using. ISO is also very important. When I'm at Crufts photographing in the main arena, I might be using ISO levels of around 12,000, which some cameras aren't comfortable at using, but that's in an extreme condition. What I would say is if you're photographing and you do need to boost your camera to those types of ISO levels, try and move to a different location if you can. Try and bring some more natural light in. So it's not just about using the best, it's about thinking the situation through, thinking the location through, and try and get the very best from what you've got. And that's what we'll be going through later in some of the other films in the series. One of the big advantages that a lot of cameras have now is that you are able to write simultaneously to two cards. So if your camera has got the capability of writing simultaneously to the two, then I would set that every single time. Believe you me, I've been caught out and I've had some horrendous moments of worry and up till 3 o'clock in the morning trying to salvage those images back. It's doable, but it's just adding extra stress to the situation and we just don't want that. The lens that I could not do without, is my absolute bomb-proof lens, is the 70-200. This is the 2.8 Mark II Canon version, and it's an expensive bit of kit, but it does the job. It's extremely sharp, it's very reliable, very, very fast autofocus. When I first started, this is the lens that I really, really wanted, but I just couldn't afford it at the time, and I started out with the f4 version, which is a hugely underrated lens and much, much cheaper. It's very, very light as well to carry around, and I do miss it, to be honest with you, and it's very, very sharp. The main reason why I upgraded to the 2.8 is sometimes I do need to pull that extra light in. If I'm photographing one of the Gun Dog Championships, I may be in a darkened wood, I've got a little black Cocker Spaniel running around at 1,000,000 miles an hour, and I'm expected to capture that in full flow and full action, I might need to use 2.8 as an absolute extreme. But, you know, think about maybe an f4 option. Think about your type of photography. Do you need that extra aperture? But this is the one lens that I could literally do everything with, okay? I always use my lenses with the lens hood on. And there's a couple reasons for this. First one is obviously to protect the front of the lens from lens flare, okay? But secondly, if I'm on the ground and I'm photographing a dog running at me, it may be that sometimes I get the owner to actually throw the ball towards me, so I get the dog chasing the ball coming towards me. Now, the problem with dogs is that they are generally focused more on the ball than me. Okay, so when they're running towards it and they're just intent on getting that ball, they sometimes forget I'm there. And I've had quite a few occasions where I've had a big chunky Labrador come ploughing into me and I'm sort of thrown backwards, my camera's thrown over my shoulder, etc. And with the best in the world, if this lens hood smashes, that's 20, 30 pounds to replace. If the dog's going straight into the front element and that breaks, you've got a whole new lens, okay? Also, when I'm shooting in water, I'm getting the dogs jumping into the water. It also prevents water splash going onto the front of the lens as well, and dust, etc., which is really important. So I always keep the lens hood on, always recommend that. The other thing that I do to protect my lenses as well is I always put a UV filter on the front. It just adds another level of protection, again, from the front element there. That's the bit that you want to protect. Something else that I've got in my kit bag as well, just to protect the lenses, is a lens hood cover. And this just basically slides over the lens and allows you to access the back of the camera. Still access the back of the camera there and still operate. It just gives you that extra level of protection if you're in heavy rain. Sometimes if I'm on a commercial shoot, that shoot has to happen no matter what the weather is doing. There's been a lot of time and money invested into that shoot. So I can't just cry off saying, I don't want to get my equipment wet. It's too dangerous for that. It's got to go ahead. So things like this are very, very important to carry in your kit bag. It's not expensive, but well worth investing in. The other lens that I use a lot is the 2470, okay? And this is the 2.8 version. This is the Mark II. And this is a very, very sharp lens indeed. And I use this generally for closer detail shots. One shot that's a great favourite of mine is really kind of getting in close to the eye, the dog's eye, and getting some great detail around that, and even getting the owner's reflection in the eye, and we'll show you about this later. But it is a great lens for either getting in close, or if you've got a group of dogs, or you've got a group of dogs with the owner and you want that wider shot, you want to try and get some more landscape in, some background, then this is a great lens. The reason why I have two bodies is simply that I don't want to be changing lenses out in the field. It's very, very dangerous for the cameras. If I'm in a windy, dusty environment, you're going to get dust and dirt in your camera, on your sensors, and that's potentially going to break them. Also, from a speed point of view, it may be that I'm shooting in one situation, then another. I haven't got the physical time to start changing lenses. Dogs move very quickly. They're not going to wait for me, okay? They're pretty much free spirits. So I've got to try and capture them in their natural environment, just being themselves. And that's how you capture the true character. So it's being able to react very, very quickly to the changing circumstances, and having the two camera bodies allows me to do that. The other lens that I do carry in my kit bag, I don't use all the time, but it's nice for kind of a slightly different, more funky effect. It's a really wide angle lens, and this is the 16 to 35. And some clients like this. It allows me to get very, very close, to get the dog, in full length with, a nice bit of background in there, and kind of that kind of funky look that's quite in vogue at the moment. So I do carry that around. It's a good fast lens, which helps if I'm trying to get an action shot. If I'm going to be low and try and get the dog jumping over something, I can get all of the dog in there. So it's nice to have that kind of variety in there, so that when you're going to present the pictures to your client, you've got a good variety of different images, to actually show them. The other thing that's in here as well is I'm a great fan of using natural light, and I try and use natural light wherever I can. But there are occasions when I may need to use flash. And I always have in my kit bag 2 flash guns. These are the 580 EX2s. There's a whole range of flashes available out there at the moment, which is great. And I know the price of them has come down dramatically, which is a big plus. One of the best things that I bought is this little memory card box by Pelican, and it's completely waterproof. If you just open it up, you can store 6 memory cards in here. And if I seal that up, I could literally drop that in the sea for an hour, come back to it, and there's no water would get in there at all. This is the most important thing from the day, is obviously protecting your images. So making sure that your memory cards are safe is very, very important. The bag itself that I use, I've got a number of bags, I've got to be honest, okay, and this is just one of them. And this one is, it's a low pro bag. It's a flip side 500 AW. And the thing that I love about it is that I can open up the flip side, and there's enough room in here to put the 70 to 200 on a camera body, the 2470 on the camera body, the extra lens, the 2 flash guns, and any extra bits and bobs that I want to carry in there. The other thing that's really good as well is that it's got a front compartment. If I do need a laptop, for whatever reason, I can put that in there. And I've got some little compartments at the side. I can put some food and water in. Okay, this is really important that you're taken care of as well. You know, it's hard work, this, and again, it's making sure that your concentration levels are going to be okay. The other bag that I use as well, if I'm doing a kind of dog event, it could be a gun dog trial, it could be an agility day or something like that, and I don't want to be taking all of that kit around, I might only need the 70 to 200. Is I use this, and this is really good, and this is an over-the-shoulder bag. It's the Top Loader Pro, again by Low Pro. I've had this for about 6 years, and this has been everywhere with me. It's been soaked, dunked, whatever, covered in mud, snow, you name it. This has been through it, and it's still living, just about, okay? It's still working. This has been invaluable. It's worth spending the extra money on this extra bit of kit. It does last you forever. It's a one-off, but I love the fact you've got these brilliant pockets there. You've got a great big pocket in front for your memory card holder that can just slot in there. And it just means that you can travel light, you can move around and respond quickly. That's really, really good. Strap-wise, I use a Blackrapid strap, which will just attach onto the bottom of the camera and allows me that free movement when I'm moving around. Which works great, works really great. The only thing you have to watch is sometimes if you're going through narrow spaces that if you've got a longer lens on like the 70 to 200, especially if it's got the lens hood on, you don't bash it into things. But this has been great, and I do use this a lot, and you'll see this used in films later on. One of the most important things that I'll carry in my bag is this thing, okay? And it's a squeaker, all right? You can buy these off any auction site, straight from China, about 50 of them for like £2.50 something. And these little squeakers are the ones that are replacement in the sort of doggy toys that you'll see around. Now, the great thing with this little squeaker is that you can use it obviously to get the dog's attention, but because it's so small, what I do is put it in my mouth, and it allows me to shoot and still squeak as well. Okay, so I've got both hands free, and that's really, really great. What you've got to remember is as well that dogs have an attention span. So it's worth having a couple of different things on hand as well, because once you've done a few squeaks, they get wise to it, they get used to it, and you won't get their attention. But we'll go into more about that later. One of the last things in the bag here is this little tissue dispenser, which is really, really great. And I picked this up from a camera shop locally, and it's just like a little plastic blue dispenser with some clean tissue in it. I'm not a big fan of these lens cloths that you carry around with you, because if I've done a shoot, I've got a load of mud on the front of my lens, and I wipe it off, leave it to dry, then come back the next day, get the same cloth out and wipe the lens again, I'm going to scratch the front of it, it's going to look awful. So what I do is I always carry a load of these around with me, and it's just clean tissue, dispenses out, rip it off, wipe the front of your lens, put it in your pocket, and then you know that the next bit of lens tissue that you're bringing out is perfectly clean. It's not going to cause any damage. You can wipe your water, your mud away completely safely. So that's a full roundup of the kit that I use on a daily basis. And again, I can't emphasize this enough. I am privileged to have this equipment. I know I am, but I've worked very, very hard to get there. And I started, as I say, with the Canon 20D, and I wouldn't upgrade my equipment until I'd earned enough money through selling the images that I was producing. And that gave me a real goal to aim for, a real boost. And so I knew that I had to go out, I had to sell these images, I'd have this dream camera that I wanted, I had to go out and earn it. And that really allows you to hone your skills as well. Don't just rely on going out on a credit card and just buy a load of equipment and then just think, oh, okay, that's gonna make me an amazing photographer. It doesn't. You are the photographer. It's your skills that make the images what they are. It's not the camera, okay? So just to recap, okay? The important thing on any dog photography shoot, first of all and foremost, is you. Keep warm, keep dry. It's so important, guys. Keep fed, keep watered as well. Because if you're not feeling comfortable, people are going to see this, the client's going to see this, the dog's going to pick up on this, then you're not going to be able to concentrate and get the images that you want and what your client wants, and that means that you're not going to get sales, which is what this is about, okay? Have decent bags to protect your equipment. It's very, very expensive, this equipment. You don't want damp to get in and for it to go wrong. you've got to protect it. So invest in some decent bags, make sure that that's protected, and the same goes for your memory cards too. These are the things that have got your images on. These are the things that you're going to sell to your clients. You've got to protect them and make sure that they're okay.